All right. Welcome to another episode of Bullheaded. This is episode 20. I am your host, Sean, here with Zoo and P-Bush. What's up, fellas?
Doing well, man.
I don't know, man. It was a rough week of fantasy football, man. Dude, that's my mood of my weeks, man. Not gonna lie, man. I took a fat L. I lost by 3 points in the home league. That one stung a little. TV12, the GOAT, almost got me. One more tutty for the win. We got stopped at that 4th and 1. Kicked the field goal and it was all over. Dude, he was this close, man.
He was right there, man.
He almost got 20 points and a half. I was like, man, that would be such a sweet, sweet victory. Monday Night Football. But catching that L, man, being 500 is not a fun week, man. Not a fun week.
No.
Yeah. Listen, well, I have no room to talk fantasy. So every time you guys start talking fantasy, I let you guys rock with it because it's just not been a good year for me. Hopefully I can get a dub against Zoo this weekend, but probably not.
Good luck, AP.
Oh, he ain't doing nothing.
We will be transitioning into basketball talk because in a couple of weeks, the NBA draft will be starting. And it's a lot of – I mean, there's a lot of people saying it's a down draft. But for me, just looking at a couple players, just a lot of big names and a lot of players that could go in the first, 5 picks. I mean, LaMelo Ball, we've known about him since a teenager. Anthony Edwards, big combo guard, recently got compared to D-Wade. I don't know about that, but it's a lot of high praise. But I'm going to ask the guys who are their top 5 players in this NBA draft. And P-Bush, I'm going to start with you.
All right, Sean. This one's tough. Like you said, it's kind of a mixed year. I mean, I wouldn't say there's really a standout candidate. I know a lot of people early on kind of had LaMelo Ball coming through, but it's kind of like he's got that little, not as much, but he's got the Zion marketing to him a little bit. When it comes to the draft, he's probably the most well-known player. But if I'm starting off number 1, I'm going Anthony Edwards from Georgia, man. 6'5", 225. This man is an athletic beast. He can slash. This kid, I don't even know if D-Wade is a comparison for him, but there's a lot of people that might consider him more of like a better Andrew Wiggins type player. This guy does have a pretty sneaky jump shot from what I've seen.
A lot of people are. I like his form.
He's got solid form. He's got something to work with, and I'd say his mid-range is pretty damn good. Obviously, in this current day NBA, your 3-point game is huge, especially if you're a 6'5" combo guard, small forward type player. I feel like he does have the build. And I don't know if you agree with me, Zoo, but he could probably guard the small forward position. Obviously,
Absolutely.
probably not the LeBron James. I don't think anybody.
I think
except
he can.
Maybe Kawhi. You think he can?
I think he can. He
No.
has defensive upside when he
Oh
puts
my
his
God.
mind to it. I said it. This guy could be Tony Allen on the defensive end. 6'5", 220, 6'9" wingspan, long ass arms. This guy's got the built, the physicality, and the aggressiveness to being an all-NBA defensive player. He's just got to put his mind to it.
But he's not gonna be stopping LeBron anytime soon.
He's not going to be stopping LeBron.
Arguing on this side,
but he could be a Tony Allen defensive stopper. He can.
Yeah, he could be.
If
he's going to have to. Now, if he goes to the Timberwolves, I mean, that's a different story. Who knows there? But he's my number 1 player right now. Number 2, and I wouldn't say the rest of them are in any order, but I'm going to bring up LaMelo Ball. This guy's 6'7" point guard, man. I mean, you don't see that type of length at the point guard position anymore. As a true point guard, not necessarily like a LeBron James who can bring up the ball. Heck, even Jokic was bringing up the ball for the Nuggets a couple times there, and he's a 7-footer. But look, LaMelo, he's got insane handles. He can arguably pass the ball better than Lonzo Ball, in my opinion. I think he'll end up being better than his brother. He does have that marketing ability. He's got some serious professional, experience, having played overseas. I'm interested to see what he does with his jump shot, because that is, you want to talk about going from decent form with Edwards, ugly form with LaMelo Ball,
chicken
man.
Wings, man. He got chicken wings,
just like
man.
his brother. Just like his brother.
Oh,
he must have just learned it from watching his big brother, man, because that is going to have to be fixed or perfected. He could have an ugly jump shot. Everyone knows. Michael Redd, man. Remember back on the Bucks, man? He had an ugly jump shot, but he
got the catapult, man. He had the catapult.
So, it's possible for LaMelo to hone his skills in my opinion, especially with his jumper. But that size is going to draw any team, and especially in the lottery with, whichever team ends up taking him, they're probably struggling. Besides the Warriors, we're going to set that aside. They're going to want that marketing ability, and I think that picking LaMelo Ball will give them that.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree with LaMelo Ball. Obviously, Anthony Edwards for me. Dude, I've been watching interviews about Anthony Edwards. This guy's got the charisma. He's got the enthusiasm. I think he's got the leadership ability. He loves the game. When you see him dissect his own game, him talking to Mike Schmitz of ESPN dissecting his like strengths and weaknesses, you can see his mental mindset is very basketball. Like he loves the game. He's not in it for the money. He's not in it for get the celebrity. He likes the game. His like intelligence, his basketball IQ. I'm very impressed by his basketball IQ.
Yeah.
And he not only does he's got the physical tool set that's just gifted from God, like physicality, like 6'5", 225, built like a linebacker, man, built like a running back. Are you kidding me? This guy could have played professional football, but he's playing basketball right now. And obviously it's going to pay off because he's going to be a top 3 pick right now. And from what I'm watching from his mindset, that gives him the edge over LaMelo Ball. Because when I see LaMelo Ball, no charisma, no leadership, can't talk, sounds a little stupid when he talks like in his interviews, man. A little dodo bird up there with Russell Westbrook in his interviews. I'm just thinking, I like his game. I'm having second thoughts, man. I don't want my point guard to be a little stupid up here playing Fortnite all day. Are you kidding me? I want my point guard to play basketball, have high basketball IQ. And when I see LaMelo Ball, he's still gonna be in my top 5 because of his 6'8" body and ultimate passing ability, but his intelligence, I think is more instinct than basketball IQ. And his I'm sorry, this guy has zero charisma. Just like his brother. Can't talk, no leadership ability.
Very quiet.
Man, if you quiet, you ain't a leader, man. When people say someone's a quiet leader, like Kawhi Leonard's quiet. Yeah, I'm sorry, you ain't a leader. I'm sorry. You got to be a vocal leader, man. You got to be vocal to command, especially grown men in the NBA. But I agree with you. I got LaMelo Ball also in my top 5, but I'm getting another one. The man from France, Killian Hayes, man. Ooh. The international player. I watch this guy's lefty skills, man. I like his frame. 6'5" defensive player. Got a nice 3-point shot. It got a little Ginobili in him, got a little shaky bakey. Like I like that in his game. But overall, from a physicality standpoint, you could put him in and play 1 or 2 easily. And he has a defensive mindset too. Like he likes to play defense, especially as a young player. Nobody likes playing defense. Like like if you're an 18-year-old coming in the league, good. Yeah, you don't want to you just don't want to play defense. You want to chuck threes. Get some buckets, get the 20 points and 10 assists. That makes complete sense. But this guy is coming from Europe. And people from Europe, man, they play with high IQ. High IQ. That's how you make it in the NBA. So Killian Hayes has got to be in my top 5.
All right, Zoo, I'll match you with another international player. Deni Avdija, man, out of Israel.
I don't believe in him. I don't believe in him.
This man is 6'9". All right. You're talking about a team, teams that may need a small forward, power forward area, the guy that can run the floor. The only thing he really needs to work on, and I know, Zoo, this is all you look at when you're looking at a prospect, is his jump shot. Mm-hmm. But look, this guy is one of the best defenders in European basketball right now. He's solid. He can run the floor. He's super explosive. I think a team that has decent guard play or guard depth will want to add this type of guy to the team because he's willing to run that fast break. This guy, he's been pretty young. He, once again, professional experience when it comes to playing overseas, which I think a lot of people might dismiss, but it is some seriously competitive basketball over there. Not to the NBA, but, it's a good transition into the NBA. I think this guy, I don't know if he'll end up going top 5. I personally like him as a top 5 talent, but it's going to be coming down to who's willing to take a risk. And as we've seen with some European players, Manu Ginobili, great. Dirk Nowitzki, great. Then you have the Nikola Mirotic's of the league, man. They kind of fall off and just jack up threes, like you said, Zoo, doesn't want to play defense. I think this guy will end up stepping up on both sides of the court. He just got to work on his jumper a bit. Yeah,
Deni, do you know who I see? A hobo version of Hedo Turkoglu.
I think he's going to be a better version.
He's going to be a homeless version of this guy. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. When I watch him play, I'm not even impressed by his highlights. His highlights are just lights, man. They ain't high at all, man. He just looks so average, man.
He just throwing the ball down on people.
I'm sorry. When I see Deni Avdija play basketball, man, I just see We got some Luka
Oh my
Doncic.
God.
We got some Luka Doncic
He
fever,
and Luka.
man. We see Luka hitting that game winner. We getting hyped. We want the next European sensation. I see Denny and
That's
I see
Killian Hayes, man.
nah. Killian Hayes, man. He's a brother, man. This guy's a baller. Let's see this guy from Israel. I'm sorry. There's nobody from Israel that's ever been great at basketball.
Hey, same thing about Giannis in Greece, man. Come on.
I give you that.
Yeah, it
Oh,
happens.
man.
Someone's got to start it.
Denny Avdija, if he's drafted by the Chicago Bulls, I'll be very disappointed. I'm going to get Nico PTSD right there. Nikola Mirotic PTSD. Man, I see this guy play. This guy ain't going to start on the basketball court, man. I'm sorry, man. But for my next spot, man, I'm going with Isaac Okoro, man. Isaac Okoro. Yeah, you know me.
Solid.
I love my dynamic wing players, man. So this guy is prototypical. 6'6", 215, built like a bull, extremely strong, dominant athlete. So a guy that mostly depends on his athleticism right now. So pretty much this is going to be on work ethic right now. Work ethic. He's got to be putting in that Jimmy Butler work, putting that Jaylen Brown work on his game. Because I feel like year one, he's going to suck. Because his overall skill, like his jump shot, is like even his mid-range and just overall game, it's just not there yet. He's not a polished overall basketball player. But I just see the physical tools. Like this guy could either be Stanley Johnson or Jimmy Butler. Like on that spectrum right there, especially in a draft that's relatively weak in comparison to the other years, I'm taking my chances on Isaac Okoro, a guy that could be a dynamic wing that plays both sides of the court and be that 3-and-D type player in the future.
Don't you think that he would end up falling out of the top 5, though? I feel like a top 5 team, besides this year with the Warriors in there, they're looking for somebody that can come in and make an impact right away. And you're saying this guy might take a year or two, which is fine, but I think that ends up falling towards the back end of the lottery more so than a top 5 pick, personally. But
Cleveland Cavaliers, take this man if you want a wing. That's what I'm saying, man. I'm just saying, man. They need a wing player to pair with their young guards, man. They need a wing, and I think he's the best player available.
That's all right, Zoo. But you're going to hate my next one, and I know it for a fact. Got my boy out of Memphis, James Wiseman, man. Top 5 pick, absolute. This man is 7 feet. He is a rim protector at its finest, but he still put up 20 a game in college. This man is going to
play like 3 games, man. Not real sample size.
Doesn't matter. So did Joel Embiid. Now, James Wiseman, this guy can come in. He can give you points, but the thing that stands out to me is not only his shot blocking, but also his ability to just get on the offensive boards, get second chance points. There aren't that many great big men in the league now, man. Something is going to have to change where a team is going to end up switching the culture of the NBA back to the point where they are dominating in the paint, man. It's just something that you may want to add to the team because someone's going to have to change. It's not going to be 3-point barrage for the next 20 years, right? Now, they're going to have Wiseman available. He's projected probably top 4, top 3 at this point. I think everyone's kind of up in the air at this point of who's taking who. But look, I think this guy, he didn't play that much in college, but he's got the size, he's got the strength. I still think he's better on offense than a lot of other big men that have been drafted in the past coming out of college, which I know is a big hesitation for Yuzu. You just hate center play. But he's a pretty good motor. I think he can run up and down. And if you're looking for a team, if a team is looking for him, they need to have very solid guard play. They need to have solid wing players. And they just need this guy to come in, get rebounds, give him 15 a game, and close the deal for him down in the paint. I think there's going to be some team in that top 5, top 7 that's going to take him because of that reason.
Yeah, James Wiseman, not going to lie, he's number 5 on my list. I looked through this draft.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm surprised by it, too. I'm not a fan of the center position.
Wow.
It is very irrelevant in a 3-point shooting league, space and pace. But overall, this draft, especially at the wing position and even at the guard position, just relatively weak. Very weak. Like Tyrese Halliburton, nah. Are you kidding me? Like Jalen Smith, who the hell are you? Obi Toppin. Okay, you got some nice
Obi's
highlights.
solid.
Okay, I like his highlights. He looks very exciting, but the man's like 22 years old. So this
guy,
like
Larry Nance Jr., man.
Oh, if he's Larry Nance Jr., he does not deserve top 10. Nah. Oh my God. So I got to go with James Wiseman. I could easily see if the Warriors keep their pick, I think they're definitely going to take Wiseman as far as the fit, especially at the center position. Warriors have been dominating the NBA for the last decade without a true center, and now they're getting a top 5 player in that position. I think that'll be a terrific fit, especially with their young guards and Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green. It solidifies their starting lineup, and all that guy has to do is run around, play defense, block shots, and get rebounds. Like, he doesn't need to do anything else.
That's it.
Doesn't need to do anything
Bunch
else.
of second chance points.
Oh, yeah,
That's all he
definitely.
can
Don't take that fadeaway jump shot that he loves to do. I'm sorry, you're not Chris Bosh yet. You're not. You want to be Chris Bosh, but you ain't Chris Bosh. He got the lefty. He even sort of looks like him with his lefty jump shot. It looks a little Chris Bosh-esque, but he ain't there yet, especially down low. Takes a lot of hard fadeaway jump shots, but James Wiseman, he's got to be my top 5. I don't love it. This draft is I'm hoping there's some surprises because I feel like in the 15 to
there could be
like the 10 to 20 range. There's one guy. There's usually always a guy that surprises everyone, like the Klay Thompson of the draft, the Devin Booker, the
Jimmy
Donovan
Butler.
Mitchell. Oh yeah, Jimmy Butler. That was a hell of a pick by GarPax. Hell of a pick.
The only good one they made.
But overall, I feel like in the teens, there's gonna be a guy that's gonna step out. That's not in, I would say, like the consensus top 3 or top 5.
Yeah. No, I got Wiseman. I think going to the Warriors would be solid. Definitely an upgrade over Zaza or Andrew Bogut, to be honest. But rounding it out with my 5th, I'm going with Onyeka Okongwu, man, out of Iowa State, right? Yeah, he 6'10" frame, man. This guy is huge. He knows how to run the floor. He's a great defensive player. He's drawing a lot of comparisons to Bam Adebayo, which I don't think is that bad. I think he actually does have a better jump. Bam Adebayo is his draft net comparison, man. That is his number 1 comparison. That or a more offensively heavy Tristan Thompson when it comes to size-wise. Not saying that's much, but look, this guy is a solid defensive player. He can score. Apparently, he's been, he developed a decent mid-range game in college. His form is a little off, but it seems to work. But supposedly, in the quote-unquote off season during the bubble, whatever you want to call it, he's been working on his 3-point game. He realizes that that's a necessity to have at this point in the NBA. I think he's rounding out my top 5. But Zoo, what's your last one?
Like, funny fact, Onyeka Okongwu, this dude played with LaMelo Ball at Chino Hills.
He did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Chino Hill, a high school, had 2 basketball players to be potential top 5, top 10 picks on a high school basketball team. That is ridiculous. And you also include Lonzo Ball. You had 3 NBA players. 3 NBA players on a high school team. No wonder they ran the table. But for me, man, my last pick, I was hating on this guy a little, man. But I got to go with Obi Toppin. I like that at first. Just seeing him, he just looks like an athletic freak, man. This guy just looks like an athletic freak, great dunker. But I dived in a little deeper in the numbers. This guy's a 40% 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a good shooter.
He's not bad.
Yeah, I'm just like, as a stretch 4, I think he could be because as a small forward, I don't think he guard nobody as a small forward. Like, these wing players are too fast for him, man. He got slow feet. So pretty much I could see him as a stretch 4 playing that athlete as like a Rashard Lewis type guy. A stretch 4, a little undersized, great athlete. I don't know how he could develop his defensive game because of the lack of lateral quickness. His defense is looking a little like Carlos Boozer out there. Slow feet, only could yell for defense. But overall, Obi Toppin, even though I don't like the age, because I'm not a fan of older basketball players. So obviously, if you're an older basketball player, you're dominating against guys that are 2 years, 3 years older. Right. You should dominate. You're in your man's. He's in a man's body, 6'9", 220. He's fully built. He's all grown out. So from that, I could see a team just taking him as a safe pick. If they see a guy with upside but could bust, obviously, and people try to protect their jobs, get Obi Toppin. He's a nice solid. I can see him getting 10 points a game for his career. Just a nice role player, but nothing special, nothing to be too excited about. But as for him, man, go with Obi Toppin.
Dang.
Man. But I'm not gonna lie though, this draft is a little mediocre.
It's not. As we're talking through it, I'm just kind of like, man, no standouts really, except for maybe Edwards, and if you want to take the risk on LaMelo. But Wiseman, you hadn't really seen him play that much. Okongwu, he might be just a little iffy on a star status. You know, I don't know.
I see Odinka Kanwu, and I think Hashim Dabi. I'm sorry.
Ooh,
I'm sorry, man. I get
really?
PTSD.
That bad?
Oh my god!
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's some guys.
bad.
I see players. They just look like each other. They have like the similar frame. Defensive guy, good athlete, and it turns out to be the biggest scrub in basketball I've ever seen in my entire life.
I was going to say maybe Julius Randle.
Oh no, Julius Randle's very
smaller.
skilled. Julius Randle's very skilled basketball.
Very skilled.
Like Hashim Thabit was just drafted because he was tall. And he got got like 4 blocks, 5 blocks for UConn. But I'm sorry, these big guys. Anthony Edwards, that's who I wanted the Bulls. I changed my mind. I changed from LaMelo Ball to Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards, I feel like this guy could be a franchise-changing player now. As a 6'5" guy. Come on, Chicago Bulls, man. I hope they pull off I hope they pull it off, or I hope he falls, because I don't think he's going to fall.
Yeah, he's definitely not falling. Edwards, I think, is a consensus guy who I think everyone should see as like the number 1 pick. But speaking of picks, we're going to get into the guys' choices of who they would take in their top 5. We all know who the order is. And I'm going to start with Zoo. Who you going with your first pick, man?
If I was the Minnesota Timberwolves and I see my young roster, you can't mess this up. You can't mess this up because it'll be over, especially right now with D'Angelo Russell, Karl-Anthony Towns. You got 2 solid foundational players. The problem is D'Lo, I don't think he's an all-star, like perennial all-star. I don't think he's a perennial all-star. He's like that borderline there. But in the West, he'll never make an all-star game the rest of his career. Never make it again. He's a solid. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're in the East, you can make it. Because the East is just pretty sad. But in the West, I see Ja Morant. Ja Morant is so much better than D'Angelo Russell.
He's nasty.
Dude, he is so much better. It's not even close. I put them in different tiers. Different tiers of point guard. Has the ability to create. I see D'Lo. I see him as a solid scorer. Not a great athlete, but a great scorer.
Not a great leader.
No, definitely not a leader. Definitely not a true point guard. He's more of a combo guard. But if I'm going with them, as my philosophy goes, best player available, regardless of position, Anthony Edwards, number 1 overall draft pick. And I feel like they got 3 solid players, and now they got to get some role players, especially in the West. They got to make a run, or Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Lo. Man, it's sad that Cat's only make the playoffs once, and that's because of my man Jimmy Buckets.
Jimmy Butler, man.
Man.
Zoo, I'm agreeing with you on my number 1 overall. I think you got to take Edwards. I think he's kind of started to stand out as the clear number 1 pick, especially now that we've known the order for a while, and teams have had ability to look. I think that they just need a slasher. You know, they got D'Lo who can drive the ball but also shoot very well. Cat's definitely more comfortable in the post mid-range type game. Edwards can come in and be the absolute slashing guard, spacing the floor a bit because he can still shoot relatively well, and give Cat a little bit of space and paint. I think, like you said, Zoo, philosophy of taking the best talent overall, especially at number 1. You got everyone in front of you. Maybe a little bit easier said than done, but I think Edwards is standing out a bit this year. But as for number 2, Zoo, I think for the Warriors, I think they're going to go with LaMelo, and let me tell you why.
What?
I think they're going to trade the pick because I think LaMelo. So think about it this way: if you said they might take Weissman, that would be, if they want to keep the pick, that would be the right call. But I don't think they want to. They've been very secretive about what they're going to do with this pick. There's really been no news, not that much hype around who they're picking. Obviously, wanting to know who they're going to pick, but not any rumors or anything. Now, if they pick LaMelo, they could obviously trade to get a superstar. They could including another package, other draft picks, or they could trade him straight up and just get another solid player at center. They don't have to necessarily get a stud, but they also don't have to form a rookie at the same time, which they would have to do with Weissman. I think that a team would be willing to trade for LaMelo purely because of his marketing ability. He's going to be a good player, and
he got
he's
a nice
solid
shoe
foundation
from Puma. He got a nice
exactly right. So he's going to bring in ticket sales, and obviously, this is something that we can get into later with the return of the NBA timing wise. But if they want to bring in fans, bring in hype, I don't have a team off the top of my head that could possibly make a trade. But I think if the Warriors are planning to trade that pick, LaMelo is the guy they should take over. But if they end up wanting to keep and hold their pick, then I think Weissman should go number 2 overall to the Warriors.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to take James Wiseman if they had to make the pick. I think making a trade this year is going to be pretty hard right now, especially with like the financial uncertainty. Who wants to take a second round or a second overall pick? That's a hefty contract, actually.
It's a lot, man.
Especially with the transactions right now. I feel like a lot of NBA teams are going to do salary cap relief trades as far as just dumping salary, especially for this year. So pulling off a trade, I think right now in this market is going to be pretty tough. But I think James Wiseman overall, as I said, center position, Zaza Pachulia, are you kidding me? James Wiseman is going to be a better player day one in the NBA, especially solidifying that front court. I think the Warriors this year, man, I know that's your pick to get out the West, man.
Sure.
They are going to be nasty, man. They're going to be scary. But, man, I just see the West, Golden State Warriors, both the LA teams and the Nuggets, have mercy, man. The West is going to be too beautiful to watch, man. I'm going to be watching West basketball, and I'm going to watch the East, watch my Bulls being the pathetic East and be like, okay, let's see our new talent that we're going to get. But overall, James Wiseman, I think he solidifies the front court. Overall, I think it just makes too much sense. And I see like the other players available, especially at the guard position, they're set. Like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson,
they don't need them.
We're going to play paying 40 minutes in the playoffs, and they're in championship mode. I feel like in the next I think they got 2-3 years left of winning a title. Especially if Steph Curry gives up 35, I think that's a little out of his prime. At that age, he ain't LeBron James. He doesn't
for his gameplay.
Yeah, especially even a guy that doesn't rely on athleticism. I think at age 35, 36, that's when the Warriors championship window is closed. So they got to go all in. All in. Yep. To get another ring to add to Steph Curry's ring collection. But James Wiseman, center, number 2, baby. But, man, the next up, man, the Charlotte Hornets. One of the worst franchises in NBA history.
Run by the best man in NBA history.
Michael Jordan, the GOAT of basketball, but one of the worst GMs we have ever seen. The guy that drafted Adam Morrison out of Gonzaga. The man that drafted Kwame Brown, number 1 overall, straight out of high school. The man that drafted Cody Zeller. The man that drafted
that was a bad
Kaminsky. Are you kidding me?
Horrible track record.
Has a historical trend of picking the wrong player. So going with that trend, they're going to pick Obi Toppin.
You think so?
Yeah. He loves his power forward.
He does.
I don't know why, man.
It's his love for Charles Oakley. We all know that. Come on, man. He still holds a soft place in his heart for Charles Oakley when they traded him.
I'm sorry. Dude, that franchise is just one of the worst run franchises, especially drafting. Like this team is always missing the playoffs. So they get all these lottery shots, man. And I forgot another one, probably one of the bigger ones. Michael Kidd Gilchrist,
man.
Number 2 overall.
My God, so
the guy that had the sideways jump shot.
Ronnie Brewer.
Oh, my Lord. Pretty much. His career is pretty identical to Ronnie Brewer, a defensive player that can never shoot. Guy that was on the Dallas Mavericks this year, absolutely atrocious on offense. Absolutely horrendous. So I think the Hornets are going to mess up this pick and pick a guy like Obi Toppin, who's going to be a nice role player. But when you're drafting in the top 3, you're drafting for a starter on your team for the next decade. So that ain't the guy.
So you're basing it on his track record. I mean, look, I know that I just talked about how personally I think the Warriors will end up trading the pick, and so I'm going to hold my LaMelo Ball pick at number 2 to the Warriors. Okay. So I think that the Hornets and Michael Jordan himself, the horrible drafter that he is, with no real footage of watching Weissman play that much, I think he's going to end up taking James Weissman. He loves his big men. I think they have a solid, but not great, but a solid backcourt with Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham. Devontae Graham had a pretty great year, most up there for most improved.
That is the most average backcourt in NBA history.
Yes, but it's not. It's their best aspect of their team, sadly, at the moment, and they need to up their defensive ability. They literally play zero defense, Zoo. They have no defense whatsoever with Cody Zeller down there, man. They need a legit shot blocker. They need someone that can run the pick and roll, get Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, easy shots. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs by drafting Weissman, but I think that fits their team the most over drafting, if LaMelo were to drop. I don't think Jordan would like that big of a name and all that. That's just not Michael Jordan's thing. So I think he's going to end up going with Weissman. But, man, here it comes. Number 4.
Oh, this
Your
is the pick
Chicago
that
Bulls,
I only
Zoo.
care. This is the pick I've been waiting for. I've been waiting a whole year for this after watching my pathetic Bulls win 20-something wins. Absolutely pathetic. But number 4 overall by AK, the man from Russia with his buddy Mark Eversley is going to pick the man from France, Killian Hayes. He's going to pick a European player. He has a history of picking European players and hitting bullseyes, a.k.a. Nikola Jokic. And I feel like Killian Hayes might be this year's Nikola Jokic, the European player, the lack of tape. He might go under the radar. The man from France. This guy, like I said, 6'5", 195. I know from the Bulls' perspective right now, they're looking for a true point guard. A true point guard, a playmaker. There's been reports that the Bulls have been looking for a playmaker. I love Kobe White. I love his ability to drop 20 points, but he's a bucket getter. He's a 6-man, and you could be a very profitable player by being a 6-man, making $15 to $18 million by playing that Lou Will role. He's going to be off the bench, giving us that energy and getting us buckets. But as Zach LaVine being the cornerstone player, the guy that's going to be dropping 25 points, defense ain't on his mind. He's going to be he's going to be the number 1 option. He's going to be the shot creator and the passer for his team to try to get teammates open. So he needs a traditional point guard that can play defense. Number 1, he's got to play defense because on the other side, there's going to be a Dame Doll, a Kyrie Irving. There's going to be one of these explosive point guards. A Ja Morant going to be dropping 20 points on you. So to lay off that, to make Zach LaVine play against a scrubby player on offense, let him chill on defense, you need a Killian Hayes, a rookie, fresh legs, 6'5", 195. I think AK is going to select this man for this Bulls franchise. And I'm hoping he hits. I'm hoping he's the franchise point guard. But I've been waiting since my man D Rose tore his ACL. I've been waiting. It's been almost half a decade, man. Half a decade we missed the playoffs. We need to be back. And I hope the AK turns it around.
Zoo, this is going to surprise you, but I actually agree with your pick, man. Killian Hayes so originally when I had, reviewed this, he is not in my top 5 because I was a little hesitant to put him in there just because I feel like he hasn't been getting as much hype as some of the other players. Not that anyone's, like we have said multiple times, has really stood out besides Anthony Edwards. Obviously, LaMelo is going to get his thing. But look, I think Killian Hayes is the best fit for the Bulls. I think there may be better talent out there. Not necessarily, for everyone's opinion, but I think that, Zoo, you made a great point for the defensive end. We need somebody that can anchor on the defense. I don't want Archie Diacono out there being the anchor on the defense.
How is that
he's
a solid NBA roster?
He's
Archie
a Walmart
Diacono
Kirk Heinrich.
Making $3 million. He makes more money than Rajon Rondo. Are you kidding me? Archie Diacono makes more than Rondo.
I know.
Howard,
they're also playing with LeBron, Andy. They're also playing with LeBron, which means they can't take that much money. And Anthony Davis. But look, I think Killian Hayes is going to be solid. I mean, I like his size. I like his IQ, as you mentioned earlier, Zoo, in your top 5. I think this is the best fit for the Bulls, for my Bulls and your Bulls, obviously. But look, the Bulls needed to make some type of move. They obviously drafted Wendell Carter a couple of years ago. They don't really need another center. They have Lauri Markkanen. I'm still hesitant about him. He's solid.
I'm hoping the coach Billy Donovan turns that man's career around.
That's what I was just about to say. Is I think Billy Donovan, whoever they end up drafting this year, if it's Denny Avdija or if it's Killian Hayes or Colin, whoever it ends up being, I trust Billy Donovan enough to bring him in, hone their skills in whichever way and fit the Bulls organization to the way it is. But
absolutely, especially the way he coached the Thunder. Especially the way
exactly. And all right, Zoo. Now the last one in the top 5 is arguably one of the most frustrating franchises in a while to watch. It's pretty ugly. You'd think that they were a pretty young team, but they have a lot of actually veteran players on that team, especially on the front court area.
Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson.
Now, exactly. And I'm going to go with Onyeka Okongwu is what they need. And you want to know why? I think they're going to dump some salaries. As you were saying, Zoo, there might be a lot of trades this year.
Tristan Thompson's free agent.
And exactly. And Tristan Thompson, right? They could move Kevin Love. They have Andre Drummond there. But I think they just need somebody young. Yeah, exactly. I think they need somebody who's young, obviously can still play in the post, but has a decent mid-range game, can run pick and pop with Colin Sexton, because he's got solid scoring ability. He doesn't like to pass the ball that much, but honestly, last year, who was he passing the ball to? So he was only averaging about 3-4 assists. Now, if he can actually get a pick and pop game, I think Okongwu will end up being a great addition to the Cavaliers, as long as they're able to move up some of their veteran, older, very expensive contracts in their front court.
Absolutely. That's a solid pick. I can see the Cavs making that pick. Do you know why?
Yeah.
It's forgettable. Just like that franchise after LeBron left that pathetic mess. I'm sorry, the Cleveland Cavaliers is the worst franchise in NBA history. And LeBron James, the savior, gave him a ring, and that's the only ring they'll ever get in the next 50 years. The next 50 years, they'll have that one title. Good for them. But for me, I see from the Cavs perspective, right? I'm looking at my options. What do they got to do? Sell some tickets. LaMelo Ball to the Cavaliers, baby. LaMelo Ball, man. Dude, even though they got Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. Dude, there's a lot of reports out there, man. Yeah. People don't like his leadership ability, his interviewing. He's been a very poor interview, which is not surprising at all, just by looking at his interview history, man. The guy's an absolute clown, man. Like, he just doesn't know what he's talking about. Like I said, he's a little stupid, man. He's a little stupid that's been gifted the game of basketball. So he's going to benefit from that. But the Cleveland Cavaliers, that's where I see the last Ball brother going, man. I'm sorry. It's going to be a sad day, man. If he ends up in the Cavaliers franchise, I'm sorry, his career is going to be very mediocre. It's going to be very mediocre. I'm sorry. That's where careers go to die. Like,
Kevin Love.
Dude, seriously.
Tristan Thompson.
Who talks about Kevin Love anymore? Nobody.
I forgot about him.
Nobody, man.
He's only 31.
Do you know how he gets on TV or gets on video? Goes on the JJ Redick podcast and talk about LeBron James. That's what he has to do to get some mainstream attention. Do you know how Tristan Thompson gets some mainstream attention? Go on Fox Sports 1 and talk about LeBron James and talk about the good old times on the Cavaliers 2016 year. That's how they get attention. That's how they're getting attention.
The only way.
Right now, that's the only way. And I completely forgot about Andre Drummond, man.
Yeah.
What the hell were they thinking? Andre Drummond, Kevin Love, two bigs, wrong era. It's the wrong era, man. I'm sorry. The wrong era. Andre Drummond in the 1970s would have been a beast. Would have been an absolute monster. Would have been the second coming, man. Like the guy was 7 foot, 280. Like, he would be an absolute beast. But in the wrong era, can't hit free throws, absolute atrocious jump shot, no mid-range, just hasn't developed his game at all. Pretty much the same guy in Detroit. So overall, that sad franchise could really use some excitement. He'll bring some excitement, but with that franchise, it's over. I forgot about another guy, Larry Nance.
Larry Nance is on it, yeah. Exactly. They have a lot of just height there that doesn't make sense. And Colin Sexton, I mean, he usually passing to Jordan Clarkson. He's got Jordan Clarkson there too. That's pretty much it, man. They need to add some talent, just some quickness, some athleticism, something fun, because it just seems like such a dismal place to like go play basketball, man. Who wants to vacation in Cleveland, as Joakim Noah famously said.
Oh my God. They had 19 wins last year.
So bad.
Yeah. That is pretty. I don't even know how to explain that. I would say Cleveland sports as a whole has been through a lot of misery. So I guess that one championship they had.
You know what that was? A miracle.
They almost won the World Series.
They don't happen twice, man. I'm sorry, they don't happen twice.
They almost won the World Series, but the Cubs came through. Same year.
Oh yeah. They were trying to get a little too greedy, man.
They had a great year, man.
Want to win multiple titles.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I will say one guy, not so much he would be a top 5 pick, but one guy I was listening to a podcast and I actually went through his tape. I don't know if you guys have heard of Patrick Williams. For some reason, he's like a 6'8" guy, like a small forward. I'm not saying he's going to be this player, but just like his movements and how like he's so raw when he was coming out of school, like he reminds me of Kawhi. Like, you know how Kawhi couldn't come out and shoot at all? Like, he looks like physically built like him. He's like hellacious on the defensive end. He has kind of a weird shot, but like he makes his free throws, so that kind of can help with mechanics. But I think Patrick Williams is like when Zoo was saying earlier about the 10 to 20 range. Like, he could go to like a contender and
like
be
that.
like really good.
Like the Mavericks or something like that?
Yeah. You know his NBA comparison is? OG Anunoby.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Dude.
He went to FSU. Yeah. He went to FSU, right? FSU, yeah.
He's one of those
solid,
like elite wing guys,
yeah,
good athlete, good defensive player, and could develop his game. I like that pick. That might be an underrated pick.
Yeah, I like that. That would be actually
nasty.
looking at him with the Mavericks.
Or Ja play in Memphis. That'd be solid. I'm interested to see who Memphis picks, Zoo. I think that's going to be a big one that they might try. They're trying to find a steal right now because they kind of got not necessarily gypped because they had a decent season, but you'd think with who all got hurt with Triple J, they're like, oh, I wish we had a lottery pick, but they just missed it. I think they're going to be delving heavily into those mid-teen areas and trying to find that gem. Who knows? Maybe Patrick Williams, man.
Yeah, that could be another good addition. But speaking of the NBA and the NBA draft and all that stuff, there's been a lot of talk with the NBA return. A lot of players have been kind of upset because they don't want to come back on the 22nd. I think they were trying to fight for January 18th, 19th, Martin Luther King Day. But I think if they wait till that long, they'll lose like billions of dollars.
Half a billion.
Yeah.
Half a billion.
That is crazy. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on the NBA return. Like, what day, would you like to see it come back, or any topics on the NBA return? And P-Bush, you can finish it off for us.
This is tough because, obviously, as you said, Sean, everything's kind of swirling around the January area, which, from post-NBA Finals point, would be about a 3-month break. And I think, looking at, obviously, pre-COVID, every season ends in mid-June, right, Zoo? Correct me if I'm wrong, and picks back up right around a little bit before Halloween, maybe. So
October,
I'd say there's about 5-6 weeks shorter of a break, but aren't there technically these 8 teams that didn't make the playoffs? Aren't they having their own little bubble right now? Like they're kind of playing and,
Nah, it's more like a training camp.
It's a training thing, but hey, you know what? They haven't really played that much since March, right? Like that's the only team. So I think that's something the NBA is going to have to think about is obviously they want sales. They want fans to be in stadiums because they need to make whatever they're going to be losing in this time right now. They need to make that back, right? Pretty quickly. And they could, but COVID is varying so much on a state to state basis that like if a team is playing in, Wisconsin, playing in, at the Milwaukee Bucks, is that going to be treated completely differently than, playing down in Orlando with the Magic? No one really knows at this point. I personally would like to see it in January. I think it'd be fun. I think they could kind of treat it like the 2012 lockout season and play like 50 to 60 games. I know there's been some
they're going to play over 70 for the TV money.
Exactly. So, and that's something that then load management, could come into play. A lot of organizations are going to end up resting their players because they could have, back-to-back nights where they have to play and travel. It'll be interesting. Are there any procedures that players have to be under, obviously outside of a bubble, but are they confined to their own homes and the training facility? Is that it? It's something to keep an eye out on because I think as we've seen past couple months and almost a year now, things are ever changing. So I would personally like to see January, but I could see them, at that point, not allowing fans in the stadiums until, maybe playoff time.
Bring basketball back, baby, as soon as possible. December 22nd,
Exactly.
Let's get it on. LeBron James, suck it up. You got a ring. You're making over $30 billion. You're $1 billion athlete. You spend $2 million on your body. Suck it up. You're the greatest player of this generation. Suck it up. Go for the back-to-back titles, Ryan. Let's go. If you want to take load management, take a day off, whatever. Do whatever you got.
He already does that.
I got no sympathy for a guy that's won a ring in his last year, man. In the last
and made
year.
$30 million.
Yeah, dude, no sympathy at all. Miami, suck it up. I know they love playing basketball. Suck it up. Okay, Denver Nuggets, they're ready to ball. They want to redeem themselves after playing against the Lakers and losing in 5. Dude, the Celtics are ready to play too. They're ready for redemption. NBA basketball needs to come back as soon as possible, especially for those 8 teams. Those 8, man. That's the disgraceful 8 of the NBA right now. The disgraceful 8 of some of the worst basketball teams in NBA history. Are you kidding me? They need to come back to get their young players back, especially my Chicago Bulls. Let's go, baby.
Yep.
I'm ready for the Bulls to come back. I'm even ready for some of the bad teams to come back to see if they can make a comeback.
Phoenix Suns, man.
Oh, they look good.
Yeah, they look good,
They look
man.
good, man. Devin
Once
Booker.
again,
They look good,
Zoo,
man.
they're in the
Devin
West, man.
Booker.
So I don't see it happening. But look,
Man.
Zoo, do you think that they would have to bubble again if they started in December?
No bubble. NFL is not playing with no bubble, and it's still progressing. Even though they got positive testing, the games are still progressing.
Yeah, you see those 49ers? 13 players on IR, and then they added another 6 to the COVID list or something like that.
Wow.
There's things always happening, man.
That's crazy. But I feel like the NBA can pull it off, especially with less than 15 players on a roster. Like, I think it's not that hard. Just following proper protocol. Even though one player, even two players getting COVID, I think they could even like delay games, even if they have to. Especially building the schedule for like COVID scenarios. But as soon as possible, I need my b-ball back. I'm loving football, but I need my basketball. I need my basketball back, man. I need it back.
Do you think they'll have fans right away, Zoo, or do you think they'll maybe give it a couple weeks?
I think
they'll hold off.
But I feel like if they could do limited fans, like what the NFL is doing. Just
start with
space out
friends
the
and
fans.
family, maybe.
Yeah, especially like having groups of chunks of people in the arena. I feel like that's safe. That's safe enough, especially in an environment when the stadium can fill 20,000 people. If you have like less than like 500,000 people, I don't think that'd be no issues. So if they do the proper protocols to get some extra revenue for the owners and the players, like do what you've got to do, because man, they lost a lot of money, man.
Yeah. And you know what? Hey, they can test run in Florida, man, if they want to, because Florida's always down to try anything first. So start in Orlando, put maybe 1,000, 2,000 fans in there, see how it turns out in good old Amway Center, and progress from there, man.
Yeah, I could definitely see them, at least the people who like like the major season ticket holders. I could see them getting like the people who sit in suites. I could see them getting dibs at like the first tickets. And like being able to watch the games, but they have to start in December. Like I say, I get LeBron, like maybe, and like you say, he has AD, so he can probably take off the first couple games, whatever in the month, because it doesn't matter. But like they have to start in December because the revenue they would lose is, and plus too, like I think with the TV contracts, I was reading somewhere where I think they have to get to like 72 games. It would be they would have to play like probably like 3 to 4 games in a row, like if they started in January, just to get to that 72 threshold. And I don't think that, especially for somebody like LeBron and older players. No, I couldn't see that happening.
They could extend the season again, but it would just start overlapping.
They can't overlap the Olympics. You cannot overlap the Olympics. The Tokyo Olympics are coming up, so they can't overlap. So I think for a fact they got to start in December.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the Olympics. God, even if they do have the Olympics, like, who's gonna play? Because like, say if KD and Bron they make it to the like finals, they're not playing. Like I know they don't. I don't think they already play, but like it would have to be like I guess
the Young Bucks, man.
Yeah, 25 and under. Yeah,
the team that lost. Pretty much that team's gonna get sent back.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. We definitely went through a lot of draft talk, a lot of interesting talk. We're probably gonna have a little bit more as the draft comes up. As always, make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to our Instagram and Twitter page, bullheaded_pod. We have daily content that I put up, regarding the times, NBA content, not so much baseball because the World Series just happened, and a lot of NBA and NFL content that I put up. And as always, peace.